40,000 years ago, a human being sat alone in the dark and did something that still doesn't fully make sense to us. They weren't hunting, they weren't eating, they were staring at a wall, carving something into it with their fingernail. We still don't know why. Today, we're not talking about how ancient humans survived. We're talking about the parts of their world that were genuinely disturbing. The facts that made even me stop writing and just sit there. Stay till the end. Fact number 1 starts a story that doesn't end the way you'd expect. Let's start simple. Ancient humans buried their dead. That part everyone knows. What most people don't know is how some of them were buried. In several Neanderthal and early Homo sapiens grave sites, archaeologists have found skeletons buried face down, limbs bent backward at unnatural angles, or weighted down with heavy stones on the chest and skull. This wasn't laziness, this was intentional. Some researchers believe these weren't just burials, they were preventions. The stones weren't there to honor the dead, they were there to make sure the dead stayed down. Whatever ancient humans believed happened after death, some of them were afraid enough of it to pin the body to the earth. Cannibalism among ancient humans isn't new information. Famine cannibalism makes grim sense. Desperate people, desperate choices. But some sites tell a different story. At Goff's Cave in England, human bones dating back 15,000 years show cut marks identical to the marks left on butchered deer bones. Same technique. Same precision. Not panic, process. And it gets stranger. Some of those skulls were shaped into cups, the edges deliberately smoothed down after the flesh was removed. This wasn't about survival. Researchers believe this may have been ritual, a way of consuming or honoring the dead, or something closer to a trophy. We don't fully know which, and that uncertainty is part of what makes it so unsettling. This one is harder to say out loud. At several ancient settlements, archaeologists have found infant remains buried under the floors of homes, not in cemeteries, not outside the village, but directly beneath where the family lived and slept. Some anthropologists believe this was an act of love, keeping a lost child close, literally under the family, a form of grief we can still understand. But other sites raise darker questions. Infant remains showing signs consistent with exposure, and burial patterns that suggest not every child born was allowed to survive infancy. A quiet, brutal form of population control practiced by communities living on the edge of starvation. It's not a fact anyone likes discussing, but it's part of understanding how fragile ancient life really was. Deep in caves across Europe and Indonesia, ancient humans left thousands of hand stencils on the walls, outlines made by blowing pigment around a pressed hand. It looks simple, almost sweet, until you count the fingers. In multiple cave sites, a significant number of these handprints are missing one or more fingers, not damaged by time, but missing at the time the print was made. Some researchers think it was frostbite, others think it was ritual mutilation, a sacrifice or a mark of mourning. And some hunter-gatherer cultures documented much later in history, cutting off a finger joint was literally how you grieved a death. If that theory holds, those cave walls aren't just art. They might be one of the oldest recorded displays of human grief we've ever found. Ancient humans weren't just surviving in a hostile world. They were making sense of death, fear, and the unknown with the only tools they had: ritual, belief, and each other. Some of what they did looks horrifying to us now, but every strange scar on those bones, every hole in those skulls, every missing finger on that wall, it's a message. Proof that they were afraid of the same things we still are. If this kept you up a little tonight, that's exactly the point. Subscribe to Manhinger for more of the ancient world's darkest secrets, and I'll see you in the next one.